as Forbidden Love, Father and Adopted Daughter in the Vortex of Sin. Part 1. The Night That Birthed a Forbidden Love. The night wind howled like the wailing of lost souls, sweeping through the deserted streets lying silently at the foot of the mountain. Dim yellow lights flickered through the thick mist, resembling wandering spirits unable to find their way home. Amidst that darkness, a piercing cry tore through the mournful air, the cry of a newborn life, but no one came. In a dilapidated house at the edge of the village, the baby girl was abandoned. No one knew who her real parents were. Only Mr. Lamb, a solitary man in his 40s who lived reclusively, decided to take the child in and raise her. Mr. Lamb had always been an enigma to the villagers. Rumors swirled about his dark past, a missing wife, scars no one dared to uncover. Yet, no matter how many whispers surrounded him, he lived his days in silence, until that fateful night when destiny brought the child into his life. He named the little girl Vi, a tender, gentle name. Vi grew up in that cold, crumbling house, where her only warmth came from the rare tenderness of a father's silent gaze, a soft stroke of her hair, and tight embraces on freezing winter nights. Neither Vi nor Mr. Lamb realized when his gaze toward her began to change, no longer the gaze of a father. And Vi, with her innocent heart, slowly found herself treasuring him not as a father, but with a sweetness and yearning that crossed a forbidden line. Time passed. Vi blossomed beautifully. At 17, she was like a delicate flower blooming against the harsh winter. Porcelain skin, sparkling eyes brimming with unspoken dreams, and a pure smile that could stir any heart. The villagers began to murmur. Men's gazes lingered too long on Vi, filled with desire and greed. Mr. Lamb, seeing this, felt an uncontrollable jealousy rise like a silent storm within him. One stormy night, when the wind battered the doors until they groaned, Vi timidly stepped into his room. "Father, I'm scared of the thunder," she whispered, her bare feet nervously shuffling across the floor. Mr. Lamb looked up at her, and in that moment, every line of morality shattered in his mind. She was no longer a child. He pulled Vi into his arms, intending only to comfort her as a father would. But the warmth of her body, the sweet fragrance of her hair, clouded his reason. In a single heartbeat, the flames of forbidden desire consumed the fragile boundary between them. Vi looked up at him with her clear, trusting eyes, unaware that this was the beginning of a tragedy from which there would be no return. From that night onward, their relationship began to change in strange, unspoken ways. Mr. Lamb started caring for Vi with a tenderness more suited to a lover than a father. Vi, still innocent, began sensing the shift. Her heart fluttered with strange, confusing feelings she couldn't name. Some nights, she dreamed of a gentle hand caressing her cheek, always shadowed by her father's face. She would wake heart-pounding, hugging her pillow in the darkness, unable or unwilling to confront the truth growing inside her. Vi was falling in love with him, a love that was sweet, fierce, and utterly wrong. Then one day, disaster struck. A woman appeared at their doorstep, her eyes sharp with hatred, her voice shaking with fury. "Lamb, after all these years, you still dare to live so shamelessly?" Vi, hidden behind the door, watched in shock. The woman hurled a stack of worn documents at Mr. Lamb. Her scream tore the last veil of secrecy away. "That girl, Vi, she's your daughter, your blood, born from the woman you betrayed all those years ago." The ground seemed to crumble beneath Vi's feet. The world she trusted burned to ashes in a heartbeat. The love she had barely begun to understand was now a sin too deep to be undone. Part 2, Shattered Mirror, when guilt is exposed. The wind howled outside the window. Inside the small house, the air seemed to freeze, heavy with a weight so suffocating that even a single breath could shatter everything. Vi stood motionless behind the door, her eyes wide and vacant, her lips trembling, unable to speak. Every word from the strange woman felt like a cold, cruel blade, slicing deep into her heart, tearing apart all the sweet, innocent dreams she once held. Her own blood? The man she loved was her biological father. No, it couldn't be. Vi wanted to scream, to run outside and tear apart the horrific truth, but her legs gave way. Her body felt like stone. Mr. Lamb stood frozen in the middle of the living room, his hands clenched tightly, his fingers pale from the pressure. His eyes were dark, a mixture of panic, rage, and guilt. "Leave," he rasped, his voice hoarse. "This is none of your business." The woman let out a high-pitched laugh, cutting through the air like a knife. "No right? Does someone like you even know the meaning of right? All you've ever done is destroy. Your first wife, the daughter you abandoned. Do you remember them? Vi curled up, clutching her chest. Each heartbeat felt like the drums of war pounding inside her skull, the pain excruciating, numbing her entire body. That night, after the strange woman left, Vi curled up in a corner of the room. She avoided Mr. Lamb's gaze, avoided any touch. No more gentle hugs, no more warm glances. Only a bottomless, dark abyss remained. Mr. Lamb approached her several times, as if trying to say something, but his lips trembled without words. He too was panicked. He too was in pain. But how could he justify what he had done? Loving his own daughter, whether consciously or not, was an unforgivable sin. The days that followed became a living hell. Vi became like a shadow in that house. She no longer laughed or spoke. She avoided his gaze. Sometimes, in the dead of night, she would hear Mr. Lam crying softly, sobbing like a child, cries of regret, torment that tore through him. But Vi knew some wounds could never heal in a lifetime. Her love for him had turned into revulsion. The man she once admired was the source of her greatest pain. One day, Vi decided to leave. The rain poured down like a torrential flood. She walked through the muddy, slippery road, each step sinking her deeper into the filthy past. Behind her was the cold house, a past soaked in blood and tears. Mr. Lamb stood in the rain, silently watching her leave. No words of pleading, no cries of despair, only the infinite emptiness in his eyes, the eyes of a man who had lost everything. Vi walked on, further and further, through unfamiliar streets beneath flickering, hollow streetlights. Inside her, only one question screamed. Who am I? What do I live for, when even my first love is a monstrous crime? That question would never be answered. Only the rain fell, white and endless before her eyes, like mourning cloths covering her entire life. Part 3, Running from Fate, Vi and a Life in the Shadows. The rain showed no sign of stopping. Cold, stinging drops hit the pale, youthful face, as if trying to wash away the painful memories she carried. She dragged herself through dark, filthy alleyways. Her soaked clothes clung to her thin body, her hair hanging in wet strands, hiding her vacant eyes. In those eyes, life seemed to have faded. Vi didn't know how far she had walked. She didn't know where she was going. All she knew was that anywhere away from Mr. Lamb was the only place where she could breathe. But fate never lets go of the guilty. A strange man, the strong stench of alcohol reeking from him, appeared in the darkness. He grinned lecherously when he saw the small, lonely girl in the rain. Lost? Little girl? He rasped, stepping closer. Vi instinctively recoiled, but her trembling legs lacked the strength to flee. A rough hand seized her wrist, pulling her harshly. In that moment, survival instincts flared. Vi scratched, struggled, and screamed in vain. Her weak cries mixed with the sound of the rain fading into the night. The man shoved her into a corner of a wall, violently. She felt every inch of her skin freezing, aching, and sullied. Once again, fate trampled her, mercilessly. But luck, or perhaps just a slim opportunity in this hell, arrived. A middle-aged woman, weary but with sharp eyes, appeared and rescued Vi. Her name was Mai. She owned a small eatery tucked away in a poor alley. She picked Vi up like a stray, battered cat, asking no questions. She tossed her an old set of clothes and a stale loaf of bread. Vi survived day by day in that small eatery, washing dishes, wiping tables, serving food, enduring the sharp, bitter words of her employer. But Vi didn't resist, because she knew it was the price she had to pay to simply exist. At night, when the shop closed, Vi curled up on a torn mat behind the kitchen, listening to the sound of the rain tapping on the decaying tin roof. Nightmares visited her constantly, twisting her in restless sleep. In her dreams, she saw Mr. Lamb's face, his eyes filled with pain, his hands reaching out as if trying to pull her back. She struggled, screamed, but couldn't escape the invisible chains that tightened around her. Days passed. Vi learned to become invisible, like a shadow weaving through the lives of strangers. She learned to hold her breath, endure, and bury her tears. But fate, like a ravenous beast, never stopped chasing her. One evening, as Vi was cleaning the restaurant, Mai called her over. At the table sat a strange man, well-dressed but with a cold, venomous look in his eyes. "This is Uncle Tam," Mai said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He'll give you a better job." Vi looked at the man. Her instincts screamed, "Run!" but her legs felt like they were bound by chains. Uncle Tam extended a thick stack of money. Mai smiled, her bony hand patting Vi's shoulder lightly. Go ahead. Don't let me down for saving you. Vi left the eatery that night, sitting behind Uncle Tam on his motorcycle. The streetlights flashed past her face, casting dim streaks of light like the ghosts of her haunting memories. A vague sense of fear swelled inside her. She didn't know where she was going. All she knew was that with each passing kilometer, she was leaving behind the light of her life, sinking deeper into the shadows of fate. Part 4. The Price of Sin, when blood and tears can't redeem a soul. The old motorcycle sped through the desolate outskirts, the engine's hum cutting through the night. Behind, Vi sat silently like a shadow, her hands clutching the tattered fabric of her old clothes. Uncle Tam didn't take her to any place she recognized. No restaurants, no shops, and certainly no job as promised. Only a dilapidated wooden house, standing precariously in the middle of a field of wild grass. No lights, no people. Vi shuddered with each step as she entered. Inside, all she could hear was the howling wind through the cracks and the musty smell of decay and rot. Uncle Tam turned around, casting a cold, indifferent glance at her. Here, you'll work for me, he said, his lips curling into a vile, demeaning smile. Don't think about running. Here, it's just you and me, and the people I call. In the days that followed, Vi lived like an object. She was locked in a small, windowless room. Day after day, strange men came, bringing with them sick desires and filthy money. Vi remained silent, enduring like a broken doll. Each time her body was violated, her soul seemed to peel away in pieces, falling into the endless darkness. Every night, she curled up in the corner of the room, whispering her name to herself, as though trying to hold on to the last shred of humanity slipping through her fingers. You are Vi. You are not a monster. But reality was cruel, extinguishing all illusions. She had become what fate cursed her to be, a soul trampled without mercy, a living being worse than dead. One day, after a brutal beating for refusing a client, Vi lay on the cold ground, her body aching as if pierced by 1,000 needles. She could feel it clearly. Death was near. A slow, painful path, relentless death, like an unavoidable punishment. In her dying moments, Mr. Lamb's face appeared before her, his eyes filled with 1,000 pains and regrets. He reached out to her once more. Vi, come back, my child. I'm sorry. Vi cried out. Hot tears rolled down her swollen face. But this time, she didn't struggle. She reached out, touching that illusion, and slowly drifted into the darkness. The next day, they found the body of the small girl, curled up in the corner of the decaying room. A faint smile lingered on her lips, as though at last, Vi had found her release. A week later, the news spread throughout the poor village. Mr. Lamb, the adoptive father, the one who had sown the seeds of tragedy, also hanged himself in his old house. No one knew why. Only a crumpled note left on the table, with a trembling line of writing. I'm sorry, Vi. I am not worthy to call you my daughter. In this life, I owe you. In the next life, I hope to be dust beneath your feet. Forbidden love, a spiral of sin with no escape. Blood and tears, ultimately, could not redeem two souls rotted in guilt and sorrow.